Welcome back, dear friends, to another chapter in the journey of Kiet and Tuna. Today, we'll step into a quiet morning where simple footsteps on the mountain path carry stories of hope, struggle, and silent care. Every smile, every gesture holds a meaning deeper than words. So, sit back, open your heart, and let's begin this chapter together. The morning air was cool and quiet, with a faint scent of earth and dew. Lytutien and Kiet stood by the roadside, their backpacks on their shoulders, exchanging a few light words before starting their workday. Their eyes met for a moment, not with flashy promises, but simply with the determination to share this work together. Walking side by side on the mountain road, their figures gradually diminished against the backdrop of the trees and the vast mist. The silence was not heavy, it was filled with the quiet comfort of friendship. Soon they reached the orchard, where rows of fruit trees awaited them. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, illuminating the ripe sapodillas with a soft light. They moved carefully between the branches. Lytutien raised her hand, examining the fruits meticulously, while Kiet observed closely, ready to help. Occasionally, she explained which fruits were ripe, and he listened, nodding, eager to learn. As she reached higher, he held onto the branch or caught the grapes she twisted out. Their soft, short laughter broke the silence whenever they made a mistake or a grape fell from their hands. As time passed, their baskets grew heavier. Kneeling on the rocky ground, they worked together, fingers lightly brushing each grape before gently placing it in the basket. Sweat beaded on their foreheads, but the effort seemed lighter because it was shared. At times, Kiet carried the full basket down the slope, while Tuna remained standing among the trees, her voice calling, guiding his steps. By mid-morning, the basket was full of fresh grapes. Looking at their work, they both smiled, tired but satisfied. Change not. Each fruit was carefully placed as if it carried not only a weight, but also their labor and their faith in tomorrow. Kiet knelt by the tree, inspecting the harvest, while Tuna held the basket tightly, her hand touching his as they tied it together. On the rocky hillside, each step required careful attention, but they moved slowly, side by side, down the slope. What had seemed heavy and tiring now felt lighter because the burden was shared. By late morning, they had reached the small market on the edge of the village. All around them, stalls were piled high with vegetables, baskets of greens, and the soft chatter of neighbors exchanging news. They spread out mats, gently poured out the sapodilla, and arranged them with quiet pride. Their stalls were modest, but their presence was warm. Tuna picked up each pile, selecting the best ones to display, while Kiet adjusted the scales, making sure everything was ready for the first customer. People stopped as they passed, some curious, some familiar. A woman leaned in to ask about the fruit. Tuna smiled shyly, handing her the ripest piece. A few coins clinked onto the mat, small but meaningful. One by one, customers arrived. An old man bought a handful. A young mother asked for a bag. Kiet weighed each portion with careful hands, while Tuna gently emphasized, her voice steady but full of gratitude. The pile of money dwindled, the coins in Tuna's hand gradually turning into folded bills. She counted slowly, her eyes shining despite her tired face. Kiet looked at her, not just with pride but with deep respect, for her perseverance, her strength, her quiet hope. Amidst the bustle of the market, the smell of fresh herbs and the sounds of conversation, they found something much more precious than money. Today is proof. Even in the midst of hardship, two people walking together on the same path can not only pick fruit to sell, but also courage, dignity, and the beginning of a future they can look forward to together. The last of the sapodillas had been sold. The rug lay bare, save for a faint dust of fruit and a worn scale. Lytutien brushed the cloth off with her hand, folding it carefully while Kiet stacked the baskets. The noise of the market continued around them, but for a moment, they shared a moment of relieved silence. "We're all sold," Lytutien said softly, a tired smile on her lips. Kiet nodded, adjusting the strap on his shoulder. Not much, but enough. Enough for today. Together, they left the bustling stalls, coins and bills neatly folded in their scarves. The road stretched out before them, dotted with shops and motorbikes, the smell of fried food wafting through the air. On the way, Kiet's eyes caught sight of a small shop filled with colorful clothes and children's items. He paused. "Let's go in," he suggested, gesturing toward the shop. Tuna hesitated. "But maybe we should save money." He shook his head slightly. "The baby will need these. We'll take care of the rest." Inside, the store was filled with tall shelves of tiny clothes, blankets, and shoes. Tuna's fingers touched the soft pink shirt, her eyes distant and thoughtful. "Do you think this will fit?" she asked softly. Kiet took it from her, cradling it in his hands. "It's small, but it should fit." He chuckled. "Smaller than I thought." They walked slowly through the aisles, picking up socks, gloves, and a small hat. Each piece of fabric was a promise of care, of a future they had yet to fully envision. Tuna hugged a bundle of baby socks to her chest and whispered, almost to herself, "I hope my baby will never be cold." Kiet looked at her, his voice even. "If we can do something, it won't be possible. This child will grow up in warmth, no matter how little we have." At the counter, Tuna counted the money carefully, each bill representing hours of labor in the garden. As the vendor wrapped the items in plastic bags, Kiet reached out and handed them back to Tuna. "You should take this," he said. "It's not just an object. This is a gift for both of you." She held the bag tightly, her eyes softening with silent gratitude. Outside, the afternoon light filtered through the dusty street, and when they stepped out onto the street, they both carried more than they had bought. They carried hope, tangible, fragile, but strong enough to guide them forward. The late afternoon air carried a slight chill as they stopped in front of a small eatery, decorated with red lanterns swaying gently in the wind. Kiet glanced at Tuna, noticing her hesitation, clutching the small bag of children's clothes she had just bought. "Let's go," Kiet said with a gentle smile, pointing to the open door. "Have something warm to eat. You must be tired." Tuna looked at him, startled. "Me? But I don't usually eat out. It's expensive." "Don't worry," Kiet replied firmly. "Let me take care of it today. Just consider it a small gift after our hard days of work." Inside, the simple cafe was bright and cozy. Posters of steaming cups of tea hung on the walls, and the smell of freshly brewed broth and drinks wafted through the air. They sat down by the window, where the red lanterns reflected softly on the glass. For Zia, it felt like entering another world, a far cry from the quiet, simple meals she usually ate alone. When the waitress brought out the menu, Jie leaned forward. "What would you like? Meat, rice? Noodles? There's also milk tea. Have you tried it?" Tunya shook her head shyly. "No."
"I've never had milk tea before."
"Then you try it today."
Jie said, calling out to the waitress with a gentle confidence.
"One hot meal per person, and 2 milk teas."
When the food was brought out, Tunya stared at the steaming bowl of popcorn in front of her. She whispered, almost to herself,
"This is the first time someone has invited me to eat like this."
Jie's expression softened.
"Then I'm honored. Eat as much as you like."
She carefully took the first bite, the warmth spreading throughout her body. A small smile appeared on her lips, a smile she rarely allowed herself, seeing her enjoying her meal. Kit pushed the box of popcorn towards her.
"Try this too. It's sweet."
She chuckled, curiously tasting the popcorn.
"So crispy. I didn't know food could be so interesting."
For a moment, they forgot all about the hardships of the day. They ate together, exchanging whispers and letting the warmth of the simple meal envelop them. Outside, the lanterns grew brighter as the night fell, but inside the small cafe, there was only the quiet comfort of 2 people learning to share hope once again. Stepping out of the small restaurant, the midday air was cool on her skin.
"You go ahead,"
he said, his voice even but caring.
"I need to stop by the workshop."
Tunya looked at him for a moment, as if she wanted to say something. Then she nodded slightly, her lips pursed into a small smile.
"Don't stay too long,"
she whispered.
"It's getting cold."
Kiet's eyes softened.
"I won't. Just a quick check. Go home and rest."
She hesitated for a moment, then continued down the street, her steps slow but determined. Kiet watched her until the distance between them grew farther and farther. until she was just a shadow moving on the quiet street. From morning until now, the man sent by Tử Nha's mother-in-law had been quietly following behind every step. Every glance she exchanged with Kiet, he observed carefully, his eyes narrowing whenever the two seemed close. Finally, when he saw them parting, his chance came. He parked his motorbike by a small roadside shop, pretending to stroll around like a normal customer. He held a few boxes of cookies, already having a plan in mind. A moment later, he sped forward and stopped at a deserted intersection. The fog was thick, the road was quiet, only Tử Nha's footsteps could be heard. As she approached, the man stepped forward, his face full of fake worry.
I accidentally bumped into you yesterday,
He said, his voice low.
I've been feeling guilty ever since. Miss, take this. It's just a small thing.
He held out a plastic bag, the boxes of cookies clearly visible. Tử Nha was stunned, her eyes on guard.
No, I can't accept this.
She said softly, shaking her head. Her hands tightened around the handle of the basket, as if ready to leave at any moment. But he continued to insist, his voice almost pleading.
It's nothing.
Important. Please, if you refuse, I'll feel even worse. Just one box, that's all I ask. A look of hesitation flashed across her face. She didn't want to prolong this encounter, nor did she want to attract unwanted attention. In the end, she reached out, took a box, and muttered, "Thank you." Without another word, she turned and continued walking. The man watched her retreating figure, a slight smile playing at the corner of his lips. His plan to approach her had only just begun. From Na walked along the dusty road, her mind still in turmoil after the strange encounter at the crossroads. The air was getting colder and colder as she reached Kit's simple wooden house. Without hesitation, she picked up the broom that was placed next to the wall and began sweeping the front yard. Dry leaves and dust flew everywhere. But with each sweep, the house became a little warmer, a little more alive. She stepped inside, the dim light shining on the old wooden boards. The smell of smoke wafted from the small fireplace where ashes were piled up. She knelt down quietly and swept them away, her movements careful and steady. The room was shabby and empty, but she treated it with the same gentleness as at home. She made the bed, gathered up the scattered clothes, and cleaned the dusty corners. The flickering fire she lit cast a faint light on the dark walls. Every movement carried her unspoken thoughts of gratitude for Kiet, of the silent bond they shared, and of a fragile hope that through small acts of care, they could both find comfort in this difficult life. After leaving the woodworking shop, Kiet stopped by a small meat stall on the side of the road. He bought a few pounds of meat, wrapped it in a plastic bag, and quickly returned to the familiar wooden house. In the simple kitchen, Kiet carefully sliced the meat, lit the mini gas stove, and started cooking. The fragrant smell of the fried meat gradually spread, mixed with the smoke from the kitchen, making the space warmer. He added spices, stirred it evenly in the pan, and then prepared a simple pot of soup from green squash. Just a moment later, the simple but complete meal was served. Kiet's face showed a peaceful expression, as if he was gradually finding his familiar rhythm of life. After many days of turmoil, the small wooden room smelled of freshly cooked rice and stir-fried meat. The mat had been laid out neatly on the floor, with simple dishes placed in the center. A bowl of rice, stir-fried pork, and a pot of boiled pumpkin soup. It wasn't much, yet in that moment it felt like a feast. Kiet handed Tử Nha a bowl filled with rice. "Here, eat while it's still warm," he said softly, his voice carrying both care and shyness. Tử Nha accepted it with a faint smile. "Thank you. It's been a long time since I've had a meal like this." They sat facing each other, the dim light filtering through the gaps in the wooden walls. Outside, the faint chirping of birds blended with the crackling fire in the corner. Inside, there was only silence and the sound of bread, chopsticks gently touching the bowls. Kiet watched her take her first bite. "Is it all right? I'm not very good at cooking." She looked at him, her eyes warm. "It's delicious. Maybe it's not the food, it's the company." Kiet chuckled, lowering his gaze. A flush rose on his face, hidden behind his quiet demeanor. He picked up a piece of pork with his chopsticks and held it out toward her. Here, you should eat more, you need strength. Tử hesitated for a moment, then leaned forward to take the bite. Her eyes glistened with gratitude. You've already done so much, sometimes I wonder how I can ever repay you. You don't need to repay me, Kiet replied, his voice firm yet gentle. Just being here, sharing this meal with me, is enough. The two ate in silence for a while, the simplicity of the moment wrapping around them like a blanket. The food may have been plain, but every mouthful was filled with warmth. Tử laughed softly after a sip of pumpkin soup. Do you know, this reminds me of the meals back in my childhood, simple but full of love. Kiet raised his eyes to meet hers. Then, let's make more memories like this, starting today. Her heart tightened at his words, not from sorrow, but from a quiet happiness. For the first time in a long while, the heavy weight on her chest seemed lighter. Together they continued to eat, their laughter and gentle conversation filling the small, humble room, turning it into a home. Today's story ends with a simple meal, yet filled with joy and affection. Did you feel the warmth in this moment? If this story touched your heart, please leave a comment and share your feelings with us. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next episodes in the journey of Kiet and Tử Nha. Thank you for being with us, and see you in the next chapter.
Chúng ta vừa cùng nhau đi qua một hành trình nhỏ nhưng lại chất chứa thật nhiều cảm xúc, từ những nỗi buồn, những giọt nước mắt cho đến cả những khoảnh khắc bình yên, giản dị vô cùng quý giá. Cảm ơn bạn đã đồng hành và lắng nghe đến tận những giây phút cuối cùng. Mỗi một lượt xem, mỗi một ánh mắt dừng lại, mỗi một trái tim cùng đồng cảm đều là nguồn động lực để cho những câu chuyện như thế này được tiếp tục viết nên. Nếu cuộc sống còn bộn bề, đôi khi chỉ cần những giây phút lắng lại ta sẽ nhận ra rằng niềm tin, lòng nhân ái và sự sẻ chia luôn có sức mạnh chữa lành kỳ diệu. Và cũng chính nhờ có bạn, người không ngại dành thời gian quý giá để đồng hành, mà hành trình của nhân vật trong câu chuyện này trở nên trọn vẹn hơn, ấm áp hơn. Dù phía trước vẫn còn nhiều chông gai, nhưng chỉ cần trái tim con người biết hướng về nhau thì bóng tối nào cũng sẽ được soi sáng bởi một tia hy vọng. Xin gửi đến bạn lời cảm ơn chân thành nhất. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn trong các tập tiếp theo, nơi câu chuyện còn tiếp tục mở ra và những bước chân kiên cường, những mơ ước lặng lẽ và niềm tin chưa bao giờ tắt. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Chúc các bạn luôn bình an.